1,000 people today packed like sardines into Adelaide's Rundle Mall to meet Boy George and Culture Club. The city's not seen the likes of it since Beatlemania 20 years ago. The inner city ground to a halt at noon when Boy George arrived for a whirlwind 3-hour hello. Alan Collegia takes up the story.
Culture Club were in Adelaide only for a 3-hour visit as a last-minute favour to Adelaide fans. 25,000 of those fans signed a petition begging the Culture Club to come to Adelaide. It certainly was a masterpiece of showmanship. Premier John Bannon, a self-professed fan, was on stage to welcome the band, and so was Ian Molly Meldrum. But the enthusiastic crowd, which waited impatiently, was there for Culture Club, and they weren't disappointed.
Some people think there's something wrong with you if you like dressing up and enjoying yourself. Well, that's bullshit, okay?
Most fans were expecting just the greeting and interviews. They didn't expect to be rewarded with a live performance.
I'm a man without conviction. I'm a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. You come and go, you come and go. Your turn. Come, chameleon.
Just as quickly as they came into Adelaide, Culture Club departed. The band left the stage and jumped aboard a flight back to Melbourne for a concert there tonight. Alan Collegia, Eyewitness News.
And we'll be taking a complete look at Culture Club chaos in Adelaide a little later in tonight's book.
Adelaide isn't on the official tour of British gender bender Boy George and his band Culture Club, but 10,000 fans were treated to a mini-concert in Rundle Mall today. Amongst the mob were none other than Premier John Bannon, and he says the visit has highlighted how badly we need an indoor entertainment centre.
Boy George and his group Culture Club aren't holding a concert here because they say we haven't got a suitable venue. And today Premier Bannon agreed we need one. The super group decided to fly in for a few hours at lunchtime after thousands of disappointed fans signed petitions. In a tight schedule, the group were rushed with chaperone Molly Meldrum to radio station 5AD for a quick interview before facing a packed press conference, where even the most hardened journalists had to admit Boy George is a cut above the usual pop singer. He and his group answered all questions intelligently and humorously, no matter how ridiculous. And Boy George spoke openly about both his life and his music.
Music is an instinct. It's something that's very natural. You know, I mean, people go on about Mozart dying a pauper. Tough. You know, Mozart didn't have a good image and a personality. And, you know, and he also had a terrible haircut. And I take certain aspects of what we're doing seriously, yes. I take the music seriously. I mean, when somebody asks me a question about how I put my makeup on, no, I don't take it seriously because, you know, it's quite obvious how I put it on with my hands. And, you know...
I think if we take ourselves seriously, then... we'll definitely be spiralling downhill, you know. Our egos will be overinflated.
And then he was in front of about 10,000 screaming fans, clawing to get a glimpse of their idol. Young and old sang along with the group's smash hit Karma Chameleon as Boy George put on an impromptu concert. But the message from Boy George to his fans today was loud and clear. That is, be individual. And in a special dig at Reverend Fred Nile, to hell with the narrow-minded.
Some people think there's something wrong with you if you like dressing up and enjoying yourself. Well, that's bullshit, okay?
Channel 9 has an exclusive coverage of Culture Club's final Australian concert on Saturday, July the 14th.
It was AD's Big Bob Francis, 20 years after his success with the Beatles, who helped organise the visit.
There was expectation, a bank of microphones, crystal water glasses. The cynical among us wondered if as much fuss would be made over the visit of a pope. Then George swept in, a vision in expertly applied makeup and shocking pink. And from the very beginning, with wit and thought and warmth, he held his hard-bitten audience in the palm of his hand.
People are popular for different reasons. I don't think we're popular in the same way as the Bay City Rollers. You know, people were reviewing the concerts and saying there wasn't, like last night there wasn't any hysteria. Maybe it's because we don't write songs with shang-a-lang, boo-bar-be-doo-dah, you know, and there's a little bit more intensity into what we're singing about, and there's just a little bit more intelligence. People are very disjointed in their opinions about us. I don't think people understand us. You know, it's kind of, that people try to sort of dismiss it and hope it will go away, but I'm afraid it won't.
Precious people always tell me.
I don't think I'm special. really, believe me. I mean, I'm just a normal person from Woolwich. You know, I don't think I'm special. It just happens that I have to justify myself because I've had a hit record.
Do you really want to make me cry?
Claim to be unique. That's the main thing about Culture Club is we don't have a sound. We write songs, right? George will write what he likes to write. You know, we're not a heavy metal band. We're not. Let's say Duran Duran have very much a sound. But Culture Club, we've never claimed to be original.
Well, that point about originality is certainly debatable. When George climbed into his first dress, or cassock as he prefers to call his gear, he was certainly a one-off. But what is really original about this group is that these pop stars are highly intelligent and extremely articulate. And they expound a philosophy that even middle-aged mums, if they bothered to listen, could only applaud.
Listen, you know, people say, are you worried about people following? What is wrong with following something which is absolutely, perfectly human and normal? It is not normal to call somebody fat just because you object, you know. It's not the way you're born. You're not born with that mentality. You know, and society, you know, tells men they have to drink beer and women that they have to be thin and sort of like do the washing up and, you know, fetch the ashtray for the husband. That's fair enough, but I don't think people should, you know, settle for that.
I was to say one thing about Culture Club, I think it proves that you can do anything if you really want to. You can achieve very great things if you really want to. I mean, they're four very unlikely people to form a band, and we've done very well so far.
I think people, you know, reflect, the way people behave is like a reflection of the society they live in. And I think the most interesting thing about Australia is the people. You know, and I think looking at beaches, I don't go anywhere and look at a beach, you know, or see a shark. You know, it's not that interesting to me, you know, or go potholing. But I just like to look at the people, and the people are always an inspiration because, you know, obviously riding up here today, some guy stuck his fingers up at me, you know, and that's an inspiration because you think, you know, because you think, well, you just, it makes you realise that, you know, no matter how successful you get, and no matter how many people around you saying yes, 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 there's still a lot of creeps out there, you know, and you have to kiss them and turn them into frogs, you know. And it's a nightmare, you know, and you have to put up with that. I mean, Marilyn came here and got a black eye, which proves to me, you know, I mean, you know,
you're not so bad after all.
No, but you know, like the thing is, I mean, okay, we're sitting here and like everybody's asking us questions. Fine, we're famous, big deal. You know, I looked this way 8 years ago, so I've made a record and now I have to justify myself. You know, when I saw the police press release for what happened to Marilyn, I was disgusted. You know, there he is with a black eye, and their comment was, all he needs is a powder puff. I mean, that might be humorous, but to me it isn't. I think it's a bad reflection on the way people behave to each other. And I think that, you know, you have, no matter what you think of Marilyn, you know, nobody deserves to get punched in the face, no matter what they look like, fat, skinny.
So what does Boy George think about the verbal black eye he got from Fred Nile?
As I am. I mean, I think it's really stupid, naive, and very, very, you know, childish to sort of go around saying things like that. When the Beatles arrived here, Fred Nile was the person who said they were evil, and now he's saying they're wonderful and I'm evil. And so...
Talking of the Beatles, do the group, in view of their impact and popularity, equate themselves in any way with the Beatles?
The Beatles were totally unique for their time. They came at a certain time, in a certain situation, which there's never been anything and never will be anything like that. There was no pop music before the Beatles. There was nothing. We are a pop group. There was no pop groups before the Beatles. So there's no comparisons.
Questions about his makeup, whether because now he's a superstar he's out of touch with the real world, were quickly dismissed by Boy George. Not very interesting and not worth answering, he said. And then the meeting wound up.
If you want your photographers to have pictures...
Just on that subject, and before we go, and talking about, in relation to this latest question here...
Australia's pop guru Molly Meldrum pointed out that Culture Club was not paid to make this visit. Despite their hectic schedule, they'd sacrificed a lie-in to get up early and made the trip especially for their fans. A gesture fully appreciated by perhaps their greatest Adelaide fan, Maria Driver.
It's what he is. I mean, okay, take away his clothes. You know, the clothes to me are nothing. As George was saying today, that it's the person. I mean, me being big, you know, with George's attitude towards people for what they are is just incredible. To me, that's everything. I mean, you don't get many stars in the world today that can stand up and have a photograph taken of somebody that looks like this. You know, and I really think it's terrific. I really do, his face.
We did a Beatles special edition on the Mike Walsh Show, and we heard the remarkable story of how the Liverpool lads nearly didn't get to Adelaide, and then this was rectified. They received the biggest welcome per head of population anywhere in the world from that city. Well, the same thing is happening with Boy George and Culture Club. He was, in fact, not going, and at this very moment he is there at a city reception for him in Adelaide's Rundle Mall. And the man responsible for both these coups, the Beatles way back then and now Culture Club and Boy George, is our good mate Bob Francis from 5AD. Let's cross to Bob. Bob, hello! Hi, Mike. Above all the noise and
But it's going to be very loud to be able to hear. I'm trying to get cameras on. Countdown really have this the ability to get on. But you'll have to come over here, guys, with the 9 cameras. I'm sorry, but they've given the right to Countdown to actually do the filming here. And it's I don't think even Boy George or the management know that we're actually here on the balcony, Mike.
Oh, really? This is so we're doing a bit of a pirate job, are we?
Sorry, mate, I'm not getting any sound here at all from you.
All right, well, if you can just
that's better.
You can just tell us what's going on there, because you obviously can't hear because of all the screaming, so I'll leave it all to you.
I can hear you clearly now.
Okay, so we're being bits of pirates today, are we? We're filming this out of a window.
Right.
Okay. Well, how did you get to organise the whole thing to get Boy George to Adelaide?
Well, you wouldn't believe it. You know, about 48 hours ago, Peter Butler, our program manager, came into me and said, I think we've got Boy George and Culture Club to come to Adelaide. What do you think? And I said, fantastic. I said, what's the situation? He said, I don't know. And we haven't really known what to do except to organise this sort of situation in some place in Adelaide to try and get them to be on stage somewhere. We tried the back of Parliament House, which would have been a perfect spot to keep right away from people, because there's so many press and people up on the balcony here where we tried to make it a completely sort of an empty area. The back of Parliament House, the Premier and the Speaker of the House didn't want that there because it created precedence for them. So we picked on Rundle Mall, and the place is jam-packed. 48 hours to organise this. The security has been absolutely enormous. The police force have been fantastic. And then yesterday at 8:30 last night, they said, OK, we'll have a press conference. And to try and organise a press conference and get hold of people to come in at a secured place went over extremely well this morning. And it's all been done in 48 hours, Mike. It was a thing of Molly Meldrum's, really, who just said, let's do a tour of Australia. And he's doing something special for Countdown on Sunday. Hey, listen, he's singing.
Yeah, let's hear it.
You getting that?
Don't say you didn't hear us calling. Ooh, you'll be sorry in the morning when we tell you Mama had tears in her eyes. She's the only one who never cries. That's the way we destroy, baby.
Oh, it's lost sound. I'm
glad to hear it happens during the big stars, doesn't it?
Give him another microphone, somebody.
There's Bob on camera. Give a big round of applause to Bob.
Thank you very much.
They're clapping you, Bob.
I've put on a bit of weight since a couple of weeks ago when I came down and talked about the Beatles.
Yeah.
But it's, it's incredible. Now, the helicopter is above us.
Yeah.
And the helicopter's shooting shots for Channel 10 at the moment from up there. It's incredible the way that things have been organised for the whole thing. It's really amazing.
Well, we better give Countdown a good big plug. It's Countdown on Sunday night, is it, that all this is happening
and it's really Molly Meldrum who did it all for us. It was really fabulous in organising it. It's amazing when you talk to the management of these groups, you know.
Yeah.
They didn't know even themselves what the hell was happening until 8:30 last night. And suddenly he rang me at 8:30 and said, now listen, what's going on? And I said, well, you're supposed to be the management of the group. He said, Molly's done this on his own accord, and because he's such a big guru, he's organised the guys. And I believe he's taken them to Alice Springs. I believe he's taken them out in Brisbane somewhere. And to do something different to put his show together, this is what he's done. Here he is back singing again.
Oh, let's hear it.
This is amazing. And they're all clapping.
I'm a man without conviction. I'm a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. You come and go, you come and go. Your turn. Come, chameleon.
They're all singing together.
Oh, it's great.
There's a group of kids behind me. I'm going to sing along with them.
All right.
Like my dream, red, gold, and green, red, gold, and green. Louder.
The whole four of them together now.
Your wicked words every day. And you used to be so sweet. I heard you say that my love was an addiction. When we clean.
Look at the rest of the group just standing over the balcony having a look.
Stronger when go. You come forever. You string along. You string along. Come a chameleon. You come and go. You come and go. Loving would be easy if your colors were like my dream. Red, gold, and green. Red, gold, and green. Woo!
Oh, that's amazing, Mike, to see so many people sing along like that. That's only a top-line group would do that sort of thing.
Yes, I'm just trying to think, Bob, with all our years of disc jockeying and all that sort of thing and meeting all these people, I can't really think of anyone who was a better showman than him.
Absolutely. His press conference this morning was so fantastic, and that's the amazing part, that he's an extremely intelligent guy.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is that the press seem to ask Boy George all the questions, but the other guys will join in too and answer the questions. Mike, alongside me, the Premier of South Australia, John Bannon. John, we're live on the Mike Walsh Show in Sydney. Say just hi to Mike.
Amazing scenes, Mike, here. Reminds us all of 1964 and a slightly larger Bob Francis.
John, talked about with Mike about the 20 years ago with the Beatles just a few weeks ago.
I remember it well.
Go, Mike.
I was just going to say, would you ask John, has he made any sort of official appearance today to welcome Boy George?
John, your official appearance today for welcoming Boy George, you did make a comment about a venue. Do you want to continue with that?
Yes, indeed, Bob. It's been talked about for a while. An entertainment centre for Adelaide. I think it's something that we really need, an indoor, massive, large-scale entertainment centre. The trouble is we haven't been able to either get the finance together or get the demand. And I think a show like this, an occasion like this, shows that, any city worth its salt, any city of 1 million people, as Adelaide is,
absolutely,
has the capacity to sustain that sort of venue. And this will give it a great boost, I think.
Well, you've said it nationally now, John. I hope that it'll continue on and do something about it, because that's the reason why a lot of things don't come to Adelaide, because in a wintertime situation, we do have the venues for summertime as far as Memorial Drive and places like that are concerned. But to get something undercover for wintertime, that's a bit of a problem, isn't it?
As the cultural centre of Australia, Bob, I think, we not just have Culture Club, but anything else. Ought to have the venues to perform here in South Australia. It's a great environment, and as you can see, great enthusiasm and great crowds here.
Bob, would you tell John that Bob Hawke was watching and he just rang in and said you can have $50 million to build it?
Sorry, say that again.
Bob Hawke was watching and he rang just then to say that John Bannon can have $50 million to build the centre.
Bob Hawke's listening and he just rang in to say you can have $50 million to build the centre.
Oh, look, thanks, Bob. Next week for the cheque.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bannon, Premier of South Australia.
That's great.
Up here with the Culture Club in Adelaide with their live appearance. They've just been singing. And it's amazing. They're just carrying on. It's terrific to see.
Bob, can I just ask you, what sort of crowd do you estimate it being? Would it be a bigger crowd than you remember for the Beatles when they got there, or about as big?
No, mate, I don't think that'd ever happen here.
No.
I'd estimate probably, when you look down sort of one side to the other, and I'm just trying to have a look out there now, it goes down a long way. There'd be a good 10, 15,000 people probably here. It's a hell of a lot of people cramped in, and once you get back to about 100 yards away, you can't really see a thing, and that's probably the reason why there's some people don't want to stand around and look. But the people that are here are terrific. The Beatles brought in 300,000 people, and that will be never seen again, because that crowded the main area of town and was just something that'll never happen again.
Yeah. Well, it's a great spectacle, and thank you very much for arranging this, and congratulations once again to 5AD for pulling it off yet again. Bob, thank you very much for being with us. Thank Bob.
It's a pleasure, Mike. Thank you, Bob.
See you soon. All right, now, I'd like to mention that on Saturday week, July the 14th, the Nine Network has pulled off a great coup. It's going to televise live Boy George's last Australian concert, and that'll be broadcast in stereo sound. Now, you saw the Elton John concert, and you saw how well that televised. Well, the same team will be putting this together. It'll be performed at the Sydney Entertainment Centre beginning at 9 p.m. Sydney time. And thanks to Bob Francis and everyone in Adelaide, and the crew especially, from Channel 9, and to Richard Sattler and his mum, who is girl Jean, whose idea the whole thing was. Richard's one of our researchers. We will take a break.